The Marlins need some momentum. Let's go out and win this series against the Nationals.
You are Locked On Marlins, your daily podcast on the Miami Marlins.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Marlins. I'm your host, Jeremiah Geiger. I've been podcasting about the Marlins for 4 seasons. Go hit me up on X at Jeremiah Geiger 2. And thank you for making Locked On Marlins your first listen of the day. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. Don't forget to hit subscribe on the YouTube channel. And this is a live show, so let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I will reply to all of your questions or topics you want to bring up. And on today's show, which is brought to you by FanDuel. Yes, that's right, FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Almost forgot to introduce our friends at FanDuel. But on today's show, I'm going to talk about the momentum that the Marlins need. It's a big series against the Nationals. Miami is sitting 16 games under 500. They've lost 5 consecutive series in a row. Something's got to change. And it starts in this series. Edward Cabrera takes the mound in the first game. Can he continue to impress? He struggled a little bit his last time out, but I feel like it's unfair to really blame him because he got pulled so early at only 63 pitches. I'm also going to take a look at the bad reputation that the Marlins have. The Athletic did a poll in which the Marlins were considered one of the worst organizations with a bad reputation. They're not held highly favored in the eyes of many across the league, apparently. I'm going to give my thoughts on that. And then the Florida Panthers are in the Stanley Cup Finals. The series is really exciting. It's 2-2. I don't really watch hockey a lot, but I've been watching this series. How can the Miami Marlins, become like the Florida Panthers? What do they have to do? That's all coming up on this episode. Let's start with this series. The Washington Nationals. You're in D.C., our nation's capital, and Edward Cabrera gets the start. What am I looking for with Edward Cabrera? Consistency. That's the number one thing. Consistency across the board and throw strikes. You have to be able to throw strikes against this Nationals lineup. They have some guys that are going to hurt you if you don't. James Wood, number one guy. If you don't execute your pitches, you leave a fastball over the heart of the plate, that guy can hit it a country mile. You have C.J. Abrams. There's a lot of players on the Nationals who are very talented, and they're a young and up-and-coming team. They were one of my teams in the preseason that I thought could be, a dark horse for a wild card berth. Right now, they're still kind of hovering around that contention point. They're 30-38. They're ahead of the Atlanta Braves, and they have a good young ace in Mackenzie Gore. He's going to be throwing on Sunday. And what I'm looking at specifically when it comes to the Nationals pitching, they're going to be rolling out 2 lefties. So you have Mitchell Parker in today's game, and then Mackenzie Gore, who's been awesome on Sunday. How are the Marlins going to attack left-handed pitching? That's one of the keys, the X factors in this one. It's tough. It's been tough the last couple of weeks. The Marlins have been losing a lot. They got swept by the Rockies. They dropped 2 out of 3 to Pittsburgh. And the Nationals are better than both of those teams. So if you want to avoid losing a 6th consecutive series, you have to get on the starters early. You have to put pressure on Mackenzie Gore on Sunday. Don't let him just rack up strikeouts. Have competitive at-bats. Have a plan when you go up to the plate. And then, put a good swing on the ball. Don't give away at-bats. Too often, these last, couple of weeks, the Marlins hitters are just giving away at-bats. And that just can't happen. Booney, Locked On A's, join the club. Man, I feel you, Booney. Just giving away outs. That's what it comes down to. Connor Norby in particular, I talked about him earlier this week. How are you going to adjust your approach? Because it's not working. Whatever was working last year is not working this year. Your chase rate is through the roof. Your walk rate is way down. Your strikeout rate is elevated. That has to change because I guarantee you, Mackenzie Gore is a strikeout artist. I traded for him in fantasy, actually, and I hope he doesn't do extremely well against the Marlins, but it's a pretty good matchup on paper. He's dominant as a lefty. The Marlins hit lefties worse than they do righties. They have an OPS as a club under 700. I mean, lefties and righties combined, they're not that great either, but especially against left-handers, that's what I worry about in this series. Jesus Sanchez, Kyle Stowers, two guys that, well, Sanchez historically has never been good against left-handed pitching. Kyle Stowers is just in the biggest slump of his life, it feels like, and that's saying something considering last year, but he's hitting almost 100 even, like 118. That's got to change. Something has to change. Agustin Ramirez, I need a big series from Agustin. He's cooled down as of late. The talent's still there. You know, anytime he's up to bat, I feel like he can hit it out of the ballpark, but something has to change. The approach has to be tweaked. How are the pitching coaches and hitting coaches working together, creating a plan? You have to come into these games prepared. It's Major League Baseball. This isn't Little League. This isn't where everybody gets up and has a chance to hit. I also want to see Clayton McCullough not pinch hit so much. Let guys stay in the game and just take their swings, take their cuts. Dane Myers, if he gets a start in today's game against the lefty, which he should, don't pinch hit for him. Let him swing. He's hitting over 300. He's hit righties. He's hit lefties. Don't play the matchup game in every single situation. The other thing that I'm going to be watching for in this series is Yuri Perez, his second start. Yuri Perez, he hadn't really pitched in 2 years. I mean, it's been a long, long time. And there were signs of rust. You could see the mechanics. He was flying open front side. He was, throwing a lot of uncompetitive pitches, not really commanding the breaking balls as much. And even sometimes the fastballs would fly to the arm side. So how does he dial in against a better lineup than what Pittsburgh will be rolling out? The Nationals, I'm telling you, they're no slouch. They're not going to give away at-bats. You have to attack. You have to limit walks. And I want to see Yuri Perez get through 5-6 innings. Let's see. Last start against the Pirates, his pitch count was supposed to be 80 to 85. He ultimately finished a little lower than that. And so if he can get around 90 pitches through 5-6 innings, I will be ecstatic. And I think that's a real sign of progress. Emmanuel, Clayton couldn't manage a little league team, LOL. Emmanuel, it's tough. I mean, I really liked what I saw from him in the Tampa Bay series, in which he stood up for his players and got ejected. It showed some fire. It showed some passion. But in terms of decision-making, I need to see some improvement, Emmanuel. I agree with you that he just needs to improve. You can't keep pinch hitting late in the games and taking out your hot players, taking out Dane Myers. Why is Dane Myers being treated like a platoon bat or a minor leaguer, a waiver call-up? No, he's a legit piece in this lineup, probably one of the better hitters consistently in this lineup. Leave him in the game. And then the bullpen. That's the other thing that I just need to see some better management of is when do you pull your starters? When do you put in your high leverage guys? We see so often Ronnie Enriquez gets the 6th inning. You have Fauché get the 9th. I just want to see some consistency across this series. Figure out, who's going to close the game when you have that opportunity. But it's analytics ball. This is how it is. This is not a retail job, Emmanuel. They got to get it together. They've lost 5 series in a row. Something has got to change. And if you can't beat the Rockies and Pirates, the Nationals are a step up. I need to see some motivation. I need to see some momentum because it doesn't get any easier than this. You got the Phillies coming to town next week. The Phillies are a real good team. Real powerful lineup. Coming up next, I'm going to address the bad reputation that the Marlins have had. Wow. I mean, there's a lot to talk about in this one, from Subway sandwiches. They eat Subway sandwiches. I love Subway. But apparently, it's not good for the rest of baseball. It's not a good look. That's coming up right after this. And this episode is brought to you by Trade Coffee. Look, guys, coffee isn't just a drink. It's a ritual, a lifeline. It's the thing that gets you from half asleep in the mornings, on your way to work, on your way to the gym, and gets you ready and active. And that's where Trade Coffee comes in. Whatever activity you may be doing, whether you're taking your kids to school, you're going to work, the gym, getting a lift in, your coffee in the morning sets the tone for it all, and that's why you should start with the perfect cup of coffee crafted just for you, Trade Coffee. Trade Coffee is the #1 coffee destination in the USA, delivering fresh, incredible coffee from over 50 of the country's top roasters. Whether you love cold brew or just a regular hot cup of coffee, this is the roast you'll love. You can take a free quiz, and they're going to personalize exactly what coffee order suits you best. For example, I have this one, and this is rich chocolate, cinnamon, toffee, plum. I mean, it smells delicious, it tastes delicious, and it's exactly what I wanted when I did that quiz. I wanted something sweet, I wanted something aromatic, and they sent me that. And if you do the quiz and you don't like exactly what they send you, they're going to replace it for free until they get exactly what you want. That's how dedicated they are to getting your perfect coffee. And right now, Trade is exclusively offering our customers 50% off your 1-month trial at drinktrade.com/lockedonmlb. That's trade.com/lockedonmlb for half off your 1-month trial. Go check it out, guys. If you're an everyday listener, I appreciate you being part of the Locked On Marlins crew. If this is your first time checking out Locked On Marlins, hit that subscribe button for me. Do me a favor. It helps me out a lot. And this is a live show, a live edition of Locked On Marlins. The reputation for this team seems to be faltering. And we got to start by going all the way back to a survey that The Athletic conducted. I'm gonna pull it up right here just so I can read you the graphic. And I thought it was really interesting because they did it, The Athletic, which is a big, media source, they did an anonymous player poll. And the Marlins had one of the worst reputations. Not one of the respondents listed the Marlins as having a good reputation. And one of the things was that they get Subway sandwiches on the road sometimes. And Emmanuel says maybe they do need some Subway sandwiches, then they can play better. I think Subway is a real good sandwich shop. Personally, I go there a lot. I like the meatball marinara. I don't really have a problem with the Marlins going to Subway, but then again, this is a Major League Baseball team. And I don't know exactly if the optics of getting Subway on the road line up with the other teams, because I don't think that's what the Dodgers or Yankees are necessarily doing. But take a second to yourself and just think about, without researching the graph, or if you already know the answers, who would be the worst teams on this reputation list? It's got to be the Marlins, probably the Rockies, Pirates, White Sox. Yes, all those teams are on the bad reputation list. How can that change? How can the Marlins get to a point where they're not the mockery of the league? I'm tired of being a Marlins fan and then telling people, "Oh yeah, I'm a Marlins fan," and people kind of laugh. They scoff. "Oh man, I feel bad for you guys." It feels like, apart from the other Marlins fans that I know, and the Marlins community, it's a very isolated group. It really is. It's not a popular team in Major League Baseball. You don't hear about them unless it's for a trade. Last season after the trade deadline, I hardly heard about the Marlins. Unless you're watching the games or listening and following on the MLB app or MLB.com or whatnot, the Fish on First guys, from a national coverage standpoint, there's really not a lot to talk about. And why would there be? The reputation of this team is trade studs for prospects. We are a feeder team to other major league organizations. Oh, Tanner Scott, he's pretty good. I mean, he's an all-star. Padre. Jazz Chisholm, he's now on the Yankees. I mean, this is what it's been. And I'm not saying that these trades didn't have to happen, but this is the reputation. You've created this for yourself. Pastime baseball, living in the UK, barely anyone knows the fish, and whenever they do, they just see us as free wins. Exactly, Pastime. I couldn't have said it better. Free wins. You know, I know a lot of Braves fans. I know Giants fans. It's just, I envy them. I envy that they spend money. I envy that the Giants can just sign Willy Adames this year to a $100 million contract. And I know he's been terrible, but in the offseason, that's exciting. What did we have? We traded away. We traded Jesus Luzardo. We traded Jake Berger. Multiple years of control, by the way. Then it's frustrating. It's really frustrating. For the casual fan pastime, for those people in the UK or in the States that know baseball, maybe they have a favorite team, but they're not locked in to baseball, no pun intended. They're not going to pay attention to the Marlins. You know what I see on the news on MajorLeagueBaseball.com or Bleacher Report or whatever? It's Sandy Alcantara trade rumors. That's what it is. That's what this season is about from the national media standpoint. And then a report comes out like this saying how bad the reputation is for the Marlins. I don't blame them. I want things to change. And it starts from the top. Bruce Sherman, the owner for the Marlins, has to do more. He just does. He's signed 2 free agents over the last 2 years. Tim Anderson and Cal Quantrill. That's it. I guess Eric Wagaman, who signed to a split contract, we'll go 3. We'll give him 3 free agents. I was texting a friend today. He said, and he knows baseball. You know, he really does. He texted me and asked if Avisail Garcia was still on the Marlins. No, he's not. We DFA'd him last year. That was a disaster. But I don't know. That was the one big ticket free agent the Marlins got, the one splash that made media headlines, and it was a disaster. The Marlins have to change their reputation, and it starts with good leadership. It starts with investment, not just in the weight room, Bruce. I appreciate it. The second largest weight room in baseball is great. I'd like to see the injuries go down, but I want to see financial investment committed to the stars, the up-and-coming stars, and talent that comes from other teams. Why don't we be someone that takes a chance and goes out and makes a trade for the future and getting a major league ready guy, someone that can come in and produce? That's happened before. Other teams can do that. You see young teams that are at the end of a rebuild, they'll trade for a really good player and kind of bring in the veteran leadership and also give them a boost on the field in production at the same time. Subway sandwiches, man. I like them, but not a good look, apparently. Coming up next, the other team in South Florida, in Sunrise, not Miami, but Sunrise, the Florida Panthers are in their 3rd consecutive Stanley Cup Finals. It hasn't always been great. It was never the case for the Florida Panthers. That they were once like the Marlins, but they are now at the pinnacle of success. And it makes me, as a diehard Marlins fan, a diehard baseball fan, to have that success as well. That's all coming up right after this. This episode is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. The NBA Finals are in full swing, and every game delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot, maybe Tyrese Halliburton one of these games, or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live. With player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays, fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. When it comes to betting on the NBA Finals, there's one thing I know that's a must, and you have to pick the player that's going to show up when the lights are at the brightest. And for me, it comes down to Tyrese Halliburton and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I know they're the star players for their respective teams, but they keep producing, they keep scoring, they keep leading, and that's what I'll be looking at when including a same game parlay. Because if you got a read on who's heating up, maybe you want to go with Halliburton and then you want to go with a lesser player. Maybe you look at OKC, Alex Caruso, and say, you know what, I think he's going to have a good game. You can back that all up with the same game parlay. And here's the best part. If you sign up for FanDuel, head over there, place your first $5 bet. If you win, you'll get $200 in bonus bets, absolutely risk-free, just for winning your first $5 bet. You'll get $200 in bonus bets. That's a ton of money to spend and bet on really whoever you want. So if you're interested in this, go over and sign up and get started. You can win some money, guys. Make every moment more with FanDuel. It's the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Welcome back to this live edition of Locked On Marlins. I appreciate everybody who's tuning in and continues to watch the replay. But remember, it's not just on YouTube. You're going to have it on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, all those major podcast platforms, so you can listen to on the go. Can the Marlins one day be like the Florida Panthers? Emmanuel Urbina really quickly says, if we get a superstar, even if we get a superstar, knowing the Marlins, they'll struggle when they get here and not want to be here. It's happened here before. Heath Bell, etc. That's right. That's why I want this whole narrative to change. These are the old Marlins teams. These are the Marlins that frustrate and really make a true diehard fan question their fandom. I feel it. You know, I remember 2014, 2015 when the Marlins got Michael Morse, and I had really high expectations for Michael Morse, Jared Saltalamacchia, and both those players turned out to be disasters. Avisail Garcia turned out to be a disaster. It's been brutal, but I don't think that means you have to just shrivel up, huddle down, and never spend again. I want to keep saying it. At some point, this team will have to spend. The Marlins and the Panthers could not be on two further parts of the competitive spectrum. The Panthers are in the golden years, the gold glory. They're on their way to maybe winning a second consecutive Stanley Cup. I mean, you compare that where Miami is, it's night and day. I wish I loved hockey more. You know, I really do. And I'm so happy for the fans that are watching this Stanley Cup and just enjoying and soaking it all in. And they came from the rough times, the dark times, and now they're a dynasty. Dare I say a dynasty in the NHL. And it's hard to imagine the Marlins ever getting to that point. But there is hope. There is hope. It might be a sliver of hope, but there still is a chance. It starts by investment. The Florida Panthers did not used to be selling out their crowd and having everyone invested in the stadium, causing absolute havoc and that true, you know, I guess, seventh man in the arena. It didn't used to be like that. You know, up through the 2000s, from the season 2000-2001 onward, the Florida Panthers only made the playoffs twice in 18 years. You could argue that they were just another team, just taking up space. No one really thought of them, irrelevant. And they got brought up from irrelevancy into the position they're in. And it all starts with investment. How much do you really want it? How much do you want it, Bruce Sherman? You say you want to win more than anyone. That's what I heard. Then I need to see it. I need to see that happen. Because the Moneyball tactic, it truly is a way for owners to excuse not spending and still say, hey, we have a strategy. We have a new strategy. That's what the Marlins are doing. They're all about being innovative, about experimenting and trying new things, anything to get the extra edge. And honestly, that's what they have to do at this point, because every other team is doing what Miami is doing with analytics. Analytics is not a groundbreaking realization that teams are having. This has been around. The data is around. Each Major League Baseball research and development team has analysts that go through all these things and do the research and make decisions analytically. But it's a combination of that, and it's a combination of financial resources and also player development. How are you drafting? How are you developing your players in the minor league system? How are you treating your team employees? Building a culture. You want to have a culture that far surpasses any one individual, any one player, any one coach. And so my question for the Marlins and for Bruce Sherman is, how are you going to reach that point? Is this what it's going to be? Are we just going to be in a perpetual rebuild where there's going to come a point when Agustin Ramirez gets traded, where Yuri Perez never signs a contract extension and he gets traded and goes on to be an ace for the Dodgers or the Mets or the Cubs? Is this what it's going to be? Is it going to be a cycle? Or are you going to try to build sustained success where you can get to the World Series and win? That's what I want. I think Peter Bendix has done a decent job. I think there's still work to be done. I had this mailbag question from about a week ago from Sell the Marlins. That's his tag on Twitter. And he says, how much longer do you expect Peter Bendix to hang around in the front office? It seems like the more bad decisions they make, it seems like the Marlins are just further and further away, bringing up players that are not even part of the plan and not ones who are going to be part of the plan. At this point, Sell the Marlins, I don't know who is part of the plan. Internally speaking, I would love to be in the room where they have conversations about a guy like Kyle Stowers or Connor Norby or Ryan Weathers, who unfortunately is on the 60-day injured list. Where do you stand when it comes to these players? Who is part of the long-term plans? Are you just, banking that Starlin Caba and Joe Mack and Jacob Marcy, all these guys pan out? Because I think the Marlins still need talent. I still think they need a huge steroid injection of talent. Barry Bonds level injection of talent. I look around the league, these other teams have crazy prospects too. Jacob Mizorowski just got called up for the Brewers, looked dominant. He looked like Jacob deGrom. 103 miles an hour on the fastball, 97 mile an hour slider. These guys have prospects as well. I'm tired of the losing. I'm tired of it. I want to be where the Florida Panthers are one day. That's what I want to be. You need a good coach. You need a good manager. You need a good leader. The Panthers coach, great coach. He has a style to his game, and they built players. They built the team around that style. They have an identity. What is the Marlins' identity as it stands right now? I couldn't tell you. They're not built on speed. They're not built on power. They just go up and they swing. And then they score 2 runs in a game. They need to build a culture. I thought they had a culture with Skip Schumacher. I really did. I thought that was the man for the job. We have our manager. With all respect to Donnie Mattingly, Skip is our guy. And then all of a sudden, as soon as we had it, he's gone. JM, our identity, it's Pepito. Yeah, at this point, what is it? Billy the Marlin? Pepito and the Rooster races. I mean, that's cool, but you got SpongeBob night, Barbie jersey night. How about winning night? That's what I want. How about no more rebuild night? How about extend somebody? How about sign a free agent night? That's what I want. I'm tired of the losing, guys. I mean, let me know in the comments. What do you think the Marlins have to do to get over the top? That's why I talk about the draft, and I'm going to start doing a couple episodes where I give you some prospects and analysis on who I want the Marlins to get. But the draft is so crucial for this rebuild. It's so crucial to even dream of being at the level that the Florida Panthers are. The Marlins haven't drafted for years. They have not drafted well for years. Look at the Houston Astros about a decade ago, in which they were awful, just horrendous. And they were acing their drafts. Carlos Correa, Jose Altuve still stayed the course. He stayed the same way. But you got Correa. You had players, George Springer, like the core came up through the draft. And unless you're going to spend on huge free agents, which we already know the Marlins won't, I'm telling them that they probably should at some point consider it, then you have to ace the draft. You have to ace your player development. That's the only way. Emmanuel Urbina, at least with Loria, we had players to look forward to even if we didn't make the playoffs. You're right. That's a big part of it. Players are what grows the game. They had Stanton, they had Ozuna, they had Yelich. And they didn't make any of it work because they didn't invest in the pitching then. Now it's almost the opposite. You had a pitching staff led by Sandy Alcantara, and now there's no hitting. Guys are slumping. Guys are taking a step back. That's the other thing as I wrap up this live show. Kyle Stowers, Connor Norby, they need to step it up. They're taking a step back. Connor Norby's savant profile, I talked about this earlier this week. It's awful. He has no approach at the plate. Where's the hitting coach? We need somebody to get him in the cage and work on these things. Kyle Stowers started off really hot, but he's slumping really, really bad. Adjustments. It has to be fixed. This has to be fixed in the next couple of weeks, or these players are going to spiral. Pastime baseball. We need to actually try to develop or keep our good players and prospects for once. How is a broken wall going to get rebuilt if the bricks are being taken from it? Exactly. At some point, they have to look internally and decide who's going to be here. Who's part of the plan? Who is part of the plan? Is it just Yuri Perez? Is it just, Agustin Ramirez? I don't know. I want to see some good series. I think Kyle Stowers can still be part of these plans, but he needs to make adjustments. Emmanuel, no worries. I'm pissed off too. I'm tired of the losing. Tired of it. I appreciate all you guys commenting, and I'm hoping we can go out and win this series, guys. The Marlins need it. They need some momentum. They need these guys to break out of slumps and to get the bats going and score some runs against the Nationals rotation, which, tough lefty, Mitchell Parker, he's had a few really good games. Mackenzie Gore on Sunday. How are you going to respond? You're in adversity. This is the dog days of summer. You are in the tough times. Stay together. Find that identity. Find that culture. That's going to do it for today's live edition of Locked On Marlins. I appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in. Until next time, guys, stay safe, stay locked on, and let's go fish.